Hello and welcome into the SorareAndrews podcast brought to you by RotoWire. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me on Sorare at Lairdinho. You can find me on Twitter at RotoWireAndrew. Joined as always by Andy Black, who you can find on Sorare as Black and ABBlack86 on Twitter. Andy, today, Champion America discussion. How excited are you? Let me rephrase. Are you more excited about MLS coming back or more excited to just use all these cards that we've been staring at for months?
Yes. I am excited for both of those things. I think mostly it's like, yeah, we've had these cards sitting in our collections for for me, since November,
Right.
where just no utility. So that's six months, I guess. So it's really exciting to finally, like, just even putting them in lineups and staring at it and just thinking like, oh, what could be this weekend? Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch the games. I'm excited about all that, but like most importantly, it's like, yeah, I just want to look at them in my lineups.
I think I started like 3 or 4 weeks ago making lineups in the Sorare data like lineup builder and just saving them and moving guys around. And I'm like, boy, it's going to be exciting when I can actually use these cards not
Right.
on Sorare data. I joined in November, started buying in December, and I started buying MLS cards back then because the Euro guys were so expensive because they were mid-season.
Right.
And then it's like I'm buying these cards and I'm like, wait, I can't play. So then I'm like, I guess I'll have to buy some Euro cards. But like buying the MLS cards back then, my gosh, did I miss a humongous opportunity to not just
Right.
like gobble them up.
Certainly.
We joke around about the Christmas bundles that they had. A friend of mine bought a DC United one that included Bill Hamid, who's injured now. His price has gone down, but the price that he paid for the entire bundle is less than what he could sell the Hamid card for now. And it's just
Yeah.
like those out of season cards are just
My,
amazing.
the first bundle I ever bought was an MLS bundle right around that time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the only reason I got it was it had Eloy Room in it. So I got it around like point 0.2 or something, and I was like, oh, okay, that's probably good value. But it also had Fontana in it. It had like Robin Lode in it. Yeah, it was disgusting. Like looking back then, I was like, oh, I don't know. I think I did all right on this one.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did, but a
yeah,
little bit better.
right.
And of course, that's like something that a lot of people are getting bothered by. That just like, man, if they had just joined 6 months ago and all this stuff,
Yeah, for
because the
sure.
prices that we're seeing on a lot of these MLS guys, it gets a little crazy. Like, I sporadically like send you some prices that I just think are kind of outrageous, and then
Yeah,
I feel like an hour later, the same guy goes for even more. But I think people just have to realize like that's kind of how this game works. That like coming into a season, everybody wants to play, and so naturally this is
yeah,
very very basic supply and demand, and so demand for MLS is very high right now, and so that's why
yeah.
prices are up.
Yeah, and I think that there's going to be like ebbs and flows too, where like sure at the beginning of the year everything's sky high, but as people now get rewards and realize, okay, well I can't play any more lineups. I can only play so many lineups. I can sell this goalkeeper now, and that'll be something that they can throw out on the market, and somebody will pick it up, and there'll be a little bit of a race to the bottom almost, but not. I wouldn't say race to the bottom. That's probably a bad term, but I think that prices will slowly come down.
I'm also guessing that the second half of the season they'll like I'm expecting pretty much around the All-Star break for them is really when they start going down, maybe before, just because people are going to start ramping up for the Euro seasons. And so as soon
Yeah,
as that starts up, like, we see it, people sell cards from one season. They're selling their Euro cards now to get into MLS. And at some point to get, MLS goes well beyond the beginning of the Euro season. And so people are going to have to sell MLS. And it's kind of like survival of the fittest at that point of who's left and who wants to play. So we'll see.
yeah,
It's
for sure.
exciting.
Yeah,
So MLS is back, but we have like a number of other leagues that a couple other teams
yeah,
that are in Champion America. So the Atlas and Santos from Liga MX, got Gimnasia and River Plate in Argentina. We're supposedly get any players who are in Brazil and Colombia, but there are no licensed clubs there, so I'm not sure we're seeing a influx of cards there. But so I've become a humongous River Plate fan based off of the cards that I own, which kind of piggybacked off of a card you have of Nicolas De La Cruz, who I believe you've been using in U23s throughout the Argentina season. That one lasts a little bit longer and starts earlier. It's kind of in that a little bit of the Liga MX schedule, so they don't have such a big European break. Where are you going to play him this week?
I don't know 100%. I'm not 100% sure. So there's like a lot of questions right now since it's the last week of the Belgian league. So before playoffs. So like I have like some really good U23 players there, but I'm going to have to do a lot of research tonight and tomorrow morning to see if like there's a possibility of players resting.
Yeah. Because
it's the last game. I don't know how much it matters. Like Noah Lang is the one I'm thinking of. And I don't know if he I know he's like one more yellow away from suspension, and I don't know how that affects playoffs. So I have my own work I got to do. For the most part, like lineup building, I like to build like the best Champion America first, and then I go to the globals after that.
Okay.
So like I'm focusing right now on my America squads, and then I'm going to use all of my other so I have a ridiculous MLS collection, so I'm going to have really good. Most of my All-Star and U23 lineups are going to be MLS players too.
Okay.
So I think prioritizing Champion America, but I'll have those players filtered into All-Star and U23 as well. What about yourself?
I'm going back and forth with basically whether I want to target Americas more than All-Star. And so I don't enter a global All-Star expecting to get a card.
Okay.
But I am disappointed when I don't get a card either. Or also, sure. It's just like it's such a huge tournament. I think there was like 5,500 people entries last weekend, and for 130 cards, it's tough to get. But the F threshold is a great like backdrop to that, and so like sure. It's you never come, well, not that you never, but if you have a competitive team in Global All-Star, like you're rarely coming up empty, and so. I kind of go back and forth like, well, do I try to play like a safe lineup there and just like not even try to win it? But then I basically have a 4-player River Plate stack that I've been using in Global All-Star. And I can play that in Champion America this week. And so it's like, I thought I built a decent enough MLS lineup, but if River Plate crushes, like those are 4 cards that most people are not playing in Champion America. And so I think I don't know if that's coming more from my like DFS side of trying to get like a differential and playing a more of a game theory situation there, or trying to get leverage on guys where like if some of the MLS guys, I mean, we're going to see some silly scores because MLS is just like that. Yeah. But if I have like a team that crushes and it's in a league that nobody else is really playing, like maybe I need to take advantage of that. And so, yeah,
I think that there's a lot of situations where River can just go in and play a bottom tier team and just really wipe the floor with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's as many opportunities like that in the MLS, but and I haven't been paying that close of attention. I know though that like 2 weeks ago River beat a team like 4-0 or something, or maybe it's either last week or the week before, something like that. They really beat the crap out of a team. So I think that's like, I mean, I would use that strategy a little bit. So that's a good stack. But also like my strategy for D4 All-Star D4 is really just like 5 guys, typically 2 midfielders that definitely 100% are going to start.
Yeah.
Like, if they start, perfect. Because I think 5 starting players almost get you there. Like if you get 5 starters, you need maybe a little bit of help, but you're well on your way to the 200 and 250 that you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost difficult to not make 205 with 5 rare card starters, and so
right. And even if you have the common goalkeeper, I mean, if they all 5 start, then great. You need really like one decisive action and you're there.
I've seen plenty of common goalkeepers outscore my rare goalkeepers, so I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not gonna crap on that idea at all. So I've had like a lot of people asking because I have a lot of people who have been buying MLS cards kind of leading up to this.
Sure.
And it's a very basic question, like where should I put this lineup? And it's both in, do I play this in Global All-Star versus Champion America? And for some people who have some super rares, do I play my best 3 MLS rare cards in D3 with my super rares? Or do I just try to make the best D4 lineup with all rares? Like, how do you look at that? Because I don't think enough people have enough cards to say, like, to have 2 elite teams, like
Right.
enough rare cards where you're like, I have 5 elite ones in D4 and 3 elite ones plus my super rares in D3. So like, what should people prioritize?
Yeah, so I'm guilty of this all the time where I, try to get more lineups and instead of trying to build the best lineups.
Yep, me too.
So and I think that that's a pretty big flaw. Like, I think that you're typically better off just not submitting an extra lineup and just submitting your best lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Or, if you have 2 lineups that could be really good, but if you make one adjustment, you could submit 3. I think you're still better off just submitting 2, and just making sure that they're topped out. With that said, I make that mistake all the time. And then when it comes to D3, like I was talking to somebody the other day, and I think that D3 is interesting because you don't have to have the super rares,
Mm-hmm.
but I think to win, you need the super rares.
Yes.
Because the best lineups are going to have the best super rares and the best rares. So really, I think the people that are submitting 5 rares in D3 typically don't have the best rares or the best super. Obviously,
Yep.
they don't have the best super rares, but they typically don't have the best rares either because they already don't have super rares.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you're probably not going to win D3, but you can certainly cash. You can certainly get one of the tier 2 cards, so you can sneak in and get rewards there. But I think that really, like, you're going to have to really hit Yahtzee to win a D3 nowadays with a 5 rare team.
Yeah. I pretty much just throw my leftovers in D3. I don't have any super rares, and so I'm not going in being like, let me put my 5 best rares in D3 because I know without the super rares it's just not worth it.
Right.
Mine is more like, do I target Champion America or Global All-Star? I was explaining to somebody that one of the benefits of, like, if you're really into MLS and you want better MLS cards, the cards they give out in Champion America are Champion America cards. So don't get upset if you do get a River Plate or Gimnasia card, but like you have a better chance of getting an MLS card in Champion America than you are Global All-Star. So that's just something to consider when you're submitting lineups, because obviously there's no ETH threshold in Champion America or anything other than All-Star, but like card-wise, think about what you want to win, and then I kind of target that way as opposed to the other way around.
And I think that's a great point. Like, if you have 3 or 4, K or J League guys, and you maybe want to win that 5th J League player to finish a team, or if you just want maybe some depth over on that side, or you're just, okay, I have my MLS team, I want something else, then go put it in All-Star and hope to win a card there, because then you can win a player that's in one of those other leagues.
Yeah. I was also looking at just the number of entries for each one, and obviously Global All-Star is going to continue to be the biggest, so it's not really worth comparing Global All-Star to the Champion America. But like looking last weekend, so like a full game week, there were roughly 1,200 Challenger D4 lineups, about 850 Champion Euro D4s, and 1,000 Asia ones, and 1,400 U23s. So I'm trying to think of like what the number of lineups we'll see in MLS is. We're doing this Thursday noonish on the East Coast, and there are already 829 entries into the Champion America D4 and just about 250 in D3.
Well,
which I guess we're about 24 hours from the deadline, a little less. I think one of the problems with looking at the other regions is that there are just so many teams in Champion America. Like looking at it has like 3 times the number from Champion Europe. I think it actually still has more than Asia. And so like I'm looking at the number of entries, just like, can it be this many? And it's like, yeah, there are that many cards, even though it doesn't feel like there are when you're trying to buy them. But
right.
like I think we're just going to see a lot of entries in Champion America. And right now for D4, we have 65 people who will win a card back. That sounds tough.
Yeah, that is tough. And there's going to be a lot of good lineups too. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, kind of where I'm at on that is, what are we, about 100 lineups ahead of where Asia was last week?
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be like maybe not a lot higher. It's definitely going to be higher. And I think there's a lot of excitement. Just MLS in general. A lot of the DFS guys played MLS DFS, and I just think that there's a lot of excitement around it. I think that there are kind of like kind of constraints preventing more. And you know, we looked at the auctions this week, and what did we see as far as MLS goalkeepers?
There were none, basically.
There was 0.
Yeah.
There was 0 starting goalkeepers. And I think that really puts like a constraint on the number of lineups that can be there. I mean, I'm sure there's people. I had somebody message me this morning looking for a goalkeeper, and I was like, well, I've already like the prices were so good to sell. I've already sold all my extras. Like I've got lean. I got 2 lean there almost. Like if I have an injury, I'll be one of the guys trying to hit people up buying another one. So yeah, I think that there's constraints there preventing more lineups.
Yeah, so they also had the Power Hour last week. The Sunday one was goalkeepers, and there were 0 MLS starting goalkeepers in that bucket. What I thought was, I'm trying to pull it up here on my computer, but like, so I looked at the secondary market right now at what the available goalkeepers are, and it gets really ugly because we talked about this last week, just like the reason why goalkeepers are more expensive because of basic scarcity. Like there are just not that many of them. So right now, I tried to go through the list of available starting goalkeepers on the secondary market. I didn't even look at prices because the prices are all outrageous. And I included guys like Pablo Cisniega, who might not start, but he might.
Sure.
And of course, he's in a situation where the other guy, Ken Vermeer, doesn't have a card. And so we have, I think it was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys in a league of 27 that don't have cards in terms of starting goalkeepers. So I included like Ochoa and Putna just to like make this. I included Nick Marsman because even though he's not even coming, there are currently 102 starting goalkeepers available on the secondary market, like card-wise.
Yeah.
There are 26 super rares. So if you wanted a super rare MLS goalkeeper, and this is why they're so expensive, because for the most of a single player was Alex Bono, who might not start. And he has 7 rares right now. Like there are 5 Andre Blakes.
Prices are extreme.
It's really extreme. However, if you look at the rewards, they certainly plan on giving some away. Like Jimmy Maurer is the first one on the list. We've got Marcinkowski. I just scrolled by another one and lost it already. But like there are goalkeepers in the rewards pool, and that's the only reason I can think of why they're not auctioning them. Hopefully, like if they'd made all 65 rewards from Champion America D4 goalkeepers, like I'd get it. No?
Yeah. I don't know that I would get that. Like that would not actually make that much sense because the people that would be getting them would be people that already have goalkeepers.
Oh, that already have them? Good point.
Lineup. So it's not ideal.
Good point. yeah, I don't know what the solution is to that, but like the number
Like
of
I
people
said,
who are still desperately looking for
there's
goalkeepers is high.
method to the madness. We just don't know what that is right now,
Mm-hmm.
or we may never know. But there's a reason they're being held back.
Yeah. All right. So do you have? So the U23 has been going on all season, obviously. Like with the U23 season is pretty much always going. Do you think a lot of people are going to use their MLS U23s in Champion America or U23s? Like some of the U23s in the Champion America like group are some of the best players in Champion America. So like if you want to win Champion America, like you probably do want to use guys like Diego Rossi, but he's pretty good for U23 too.
Yeah, two things there. So I think people will look at the rewards pools, and that'll be really important in those decisions. But also if they have a comparable option. So if you own a Rossi, you might also own a Vela. I don't know. Like if you've got the scratch for a card that good, you probably have another good card too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that those decisions are very easy. You know, the Vela goes in Champion America, and then the Rossi goes in the U23. But I think rolling back a little bit, looking at the reward pools is really going to be important for those people that might not have good choices there and are going to be submitting one lineup versus two.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at the reward pools and find out which one has cards that you're more interested in. So if you want more MLS players or America players, yeah. If you want a shot at, you know, if Mbappe's in the U23 pool, I mean, shoot for the stars.
Yeah, you're not going to win Mbappe in Champion America, so
right.
I like the way that you look at that because I was just looking at it more from an entry standpoint of like they both pay out 65 spots, so whichever one has fewer entries, you should just go there. But I mean, they're going to be stacked lineups in both of those just because there's so many good players. Although I believe the Eredivisie's off this week, so there are a decent number of very, very good U23s that aren't playing. So maybe there's one way to look at it at least.
Yeah, and I think that question changes a lot here in like a few weeks when the European leagues, because who are you going to use as a U23 goalkeeper? I mean, you might have one option, like maybe two options. If J League's playing, and you're not unlucky enough to have a player that's outside of one of the game weeks, then yeah, you can. There's a few options there, but there's going to be like U23 is going to have very limited options this summer, and a goalkeeper, and that'll be another one of those constraints I talked about, where we might even see people submitting like 4-player lineups with like 4 players that are really good with no goalkeeper, or a goalkeeper has no game, and they could get into the reward tiers just based on the lack of options, especially in like D2, D3, where, you know, there's going to be fewer entries. Mm-hmm. And, you know, what if one of the J League goalkeepers or a couple of the J League goalkeepers just have really bad weeks and score 15 points or something? It opens the door up for the guys with no goalkeepers, which will be funny to watch.
Yeah, I don't remember if we specifically mentioned it last week, but yeah, JT Marcinkowski from San Jose loses his U23 eligibility on July 1st. And so did we say he was the only one starting in MLS, the only U23?
Yeah, we really don't know.
Right.
Maybe not.
Yeah. And by then, who knows what we'll see anyway. We're not – April 15th is not a great time to figure out what's going to happen in July. But yeah. So we mentioned Rossi. Rossi's a tier 2 reward this week. Do you want to explain? I saw this and I just started laughing because just some recent events in the Sorare world have people questioning what tier people should go into. But you had a very quick and straightforward answer of why Rossi fell into tier 2. Can you explain that to our listeners here?
Yeah, so not just Rossi, there was a bunch of goalkeepers as well. So good goalkeepers, good MLS goalkeepers that fell into that tier. and it's because of their last auction price, and those players likely weren't auctioned. I think you mentioned the last Rossi auction was January something.
Yeah.
So the appetite for that player was a lot different than it is right now. The auction price was a lot lower, and when you compare the auction prices of those players back in January to right now, they probably do fall into the tier 2 bucket. So I don't think we ever got like a real answer on that question, but that's what it is. It's the last auction price. And I think a pretty simple solution would be looking at secondary market prices when they tier these cards, because if they factored those in, removed any anomalies, because there are anomalies where somebody misprices something and, hey, a bot picked it up for 0.01 or something, or the opposite where, somebody trades a kind of a silly card for 1F. We've seen that too. But if they kind of remove those anomalies, and I think that should really just be somebody's job before a game week to just scrape through the tiers, look through it. And of course, I'm making this sound really easy, but I'm sure there's probably technical challenges to it. But somebody should look through those tiers, scrape through them, and just be like, okay, Rossi is a star. I'm moving him to the star reward pool. And I think there was like 5 or 6 goalkeepers that were like tier 2 rewards. Like, that's pretty crazy. Maybe just move those into tier 1 or star. Would make a lot more sense, especially when you look at the prices that they're auctioning for right now.
Yeah, I'd say so when Sorare data started including the price chart of like where things had sold. I brought it up to HG that he didn't include direct offers. So like if a card is sold on the secondary for what it's posted for, that's included, and auctions are included. But the other ones aren't. And I was like, why wouldn't you want that information to be shown? And it's obviously shown elsewhere on Sorare data, but not on that page. And he was saying that basically some of those can get really wonky, and he didn't want them kind of messing up the graph. And I totally understood that. There are people who, you can trade Sorare cards for things not in Sorare. And so in order to deliver that, you have to deliver it through Sorare. So it looks like you're just giving somebody a card, and it turns out you have a suitcase full of cash at home, like who knows?
Right. I've seen people sell cards for money on PayPal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So like that made total sense to me. And so then I was like, well, then that's going to screw up the algorithm when they try to use these for the rewards. But like these cards trade enough where like even if you got a band of like the last 5 or 10, like we can at least get beyond this. So I hope they do that. Looking in tier 2, so we already mentioned that Rossi's in there. Eloy Room, Quentin Westberg, who may or may not start. Andre Blake, he would go for a decent amount. Nani, Brad Guzan, Barco. I mean, if these were in tier 1, we wouldn't hesitate.
So I have a question for you. Are you going to build a lineup that specifically tries to win a tier 2 prize?
Based on how I make lineups to win the first place, I'm perfectly set up to try to win a tier 2.
Excellent. Yeah, I think mine too, because I've had a bad run of luck, so I'll be happy to pick up a tier 2.
Right, yeah. No, I think some people have joked about it. Like if there's a week to win a tier 2 card, this is it. Although, to be honest, it's not going to change, or it shouldn't change anytime soon, because there are no auctions on these guys.
Yeah. If they don't auction them, then this is going to be crazy. So they'll have to make some manual adjustments or some kind of changes, because it's like, as we talked about, it's ridiculous. And if it's just 1 week of it, fine, but it really should not go on. It should not be this should be a very short-term thing.
Right. Although it does feel like a decent way to distribute better cards to lesser players. I don't think they did this on purpose, but if you are somebody who doesn't have a great team because you can't afford it, and all of a sudden you luck your way into a tier 2 Eloy Room, like that's pretty good.
Honestly, I have a lot of unpopular opinions, and sometimes it is things like that where it's like, okay, somebody got really lucky and won Ronaldo as a tier 1. Good for them. And then, honestly, with the good comes the bad, and if we had somebody on social media going nuts over a bad tier 2 card, and it's like, well, you know what? Stuff happens, right? Yeah. I mean, it's one card. Move on. And granted, good stuff happens. You have the tier 1 Ronaldo, or I don't even know that ever actually happened. I just know that he's in that pool on some game weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, unpopular opinion from my side that sometimes that's kind of a good thing for Rossi to be in tier 2. Sure, let somebody win it.
I think most people would agree with you on that part, but it's the guys who should be in tier 3 that are now in tier 1 that probably, which I get when you win it. I haven't gotten close to tier 1, so there are 15 Eloy room cards left, apparently, according to this, according to Sorare. Theoretically, although being tier
15
2,
to auction or 15 to win, or
we don't know. It just says 15 are left. Although it's on the reward.
You're talking about in the reward pool.
That's what it says in the reward pool. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 15 more that can be rewarded.
Oh, okay.
So if you go look at his last mint number, it's probably like in the 70s or something. So 15 more can probably be auctioned. 15 more can be rewarded. Something like that.
Although tier 2, it could be a referral reward too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, let me see. His last auction was card 69. So that was March 7th.
Nice.
So a month and change ago. I don't know. It's not helpful. So not to pile on some Sorare screw-ups, but there are still some players that have red X's by them because...
Yeah.
So it's my understanding that they do that because of what comes from Opta. Like Opta gives them team designations.
Right.
RotoWire has a feed from Opta 2, and we've seen very quickly that they don't update that fast. But they do update. And I did notice that Kelvin Leardam, who had it for a long time, now does not have the red X, but he also, according to their site, doesn't have a game for this weekend, so you can't play him in Champion America as of 22 hours before lock. But
so he does have the red X, or they removed the red X?
They removed the red X. He's still listed with Seattle because that's what his card was when they issued it. He now plays for Inter Miami.
Sounds like they're fixing it.
Yes, but in the game, it says he has no game, but you can at least play him.
Right.
I was very concerned, selfishly, because my Brian Meredith, Joe Willis handcuff, or somebody else's handcuff that I happen to own, still has the red X. So if anything happens to Willis, I'm going to burn the place down until that red X is gone. But I have to imagine that they fix that before the game week anyway. So people shouldn't go too crazy. So how confident are you to finish to win this special Jimmy Maurer card?
I'm going all in, man. I'm going all in on the special edition Jimmy Maurer. I mean, it's funny to me because it's probably the most uncollectible thing I've ever seen, and it's supposed to be this like super awesome collectible thing, and it has the cool design that they don't really have on any other cards, and there's just nothing sexy about winning a Jimmy Maurer at all. Like there's so many other better options that could have been. Like if you're just talking goalkeepers, like the first one I'm thinking of is the Choa. He's the hot young MLS goalkeeper that is breaking into the national team. Like that would be a cool collectible goalkeeper card to win and own with a special edition flair or whatever. And there's probably not a ton of goalkeepers that in the MLS like that I would really want. Like they're
not a very sexy group to you,
because he was goalkeeper of the year last year, or Stefan Fry just because he's kind of the he's kind of like the MLS goat.
Yeah.
But like if they're just wanting to do like really cool MLS collectible cards for that special weekly, I mean Diogo Rossi or Vela or Joseph, Ladero, like those would have been cool. Like
It's
I
not a
think
short
that
list of guys they could have
like
used.
not to just like I don't know, dump on Jimmy Maurer, but the guy's played in like 2 MLS seasons. Like one full season, I think, as a starter. Is kind of like a semi-pro journeyman, and we're getting special edition cards. Come on.
Do you? I guess it's. I should have brought up earlier in terms of like entering stuff. Do you ever prioritize the special weekly?
Yeah, like if it's really dependent on the like the reward or like whatever, but like it's a like an inner battle. Like I know I shouldn't. They only give away 10 prizes, so like I'm probably not winning anything.
Right.
In fact, I don't think I've ever, like I'll have to talk to HG or maybe even look through Sorare data. I don't know that I've ever cashed in the weekly ever.
It's really hard.
Yeah, maybe a long time ago because I think they might have paid more places like kind of like before like the new scoring system and everything. But I don't like I couldn't tell you like recently me ever even really being that close to it either.
I remember.
Which, by the way, watch this week. I'm winning that Jimmy Maurer.
There you go.
After saying that.
Absolutely yours. Do you wait 5 or 10 seconds before you put it on the secondary market just to get rid of it?
I think now that I've like gone on a little bit of a rant, I think I have to keep it. You know, like I'll talk to Frazier or whoever that was, and I'll get the fridge magnet.
I do remember a few months ago they did a special weekly where they gave away 200 goalkeepers, and it sounded like a really cool idea. I didn't have any goalies at the time, and I entered and didn't get close, and that's now making me think about what you said a few minutes ago when I was like, oh, they should just give away 65 goalies, and you're like, no, those are all the people who have goalies. And I think everybody who won goalies in that one probably had goalies already, and that's why they finished in the top 200. But I think that's the only special weekly I've ever even entered because it's just not worth my better cards to try to win that. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if there'd be like some neat ideas where they could like almost airdrop those goalkeepers to like managers that maybe like, and I'm not saying just like airdrop all of them and give them all away, but maybe like somebody that's consistently played an All-Star D4 like a number of times with a common goalkeeper. They don't own a starting goalkeeper, and maybe they've played in All-Star D4 like 20 times with a common or something. Like I don't know, maybe you reward that and like quietly reward that. And I don't mean like maybe without announcing that you're going to do it. You just do it at some point and then make the announcement, hey, we did this. It's, we're promoting these players that are grinding out D4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. I like that a lot. So we've got some Twitter questions that some people have sent us. Thank you for that. The first one is kind of a 2-part question, or maybe it's 2 questions and I'm just letting it happen to be one. From Twitter user is SorareMonkey, which fits right in with the name of this podcast too. So the first question was, are MLS players currently overpriced compared to other leagues, or are they appropriately priced considering you're in with a good chance of winning a card or ETH in D4? And then the second question was, is the lack of availability of Champion America goalkeepers going to restrict entries? So we kind of talked about that at the beginning that like MLS player prices are pretty expensive. What I think is kind of interesting about it is that if you're somebody who wants to grind D4, I think there are plenty of players that you can get that aren't super expensive. I especially if you do your homework, that there are some players who, maybe someone starting right back that like doesn't get a lot of publicity. The elite MLS players are absurdly priced though.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of answers to this question, but one term that we throw around a lot is reward snowballing. So yes, they might be overpriced, or you might consider them to be overpriced right now, but to get in the game and to start snowballing rewards, you got to buy it. You got to buy the thing. So I think they're appropriately priced, to be honest. That said, literally while we've been on this video call right now, they made the rewards announcement. I haven't looked at it yet. So I think that probably like some of the stuff that we may have said might be moot, but my imagination is that they're increasing the number of rewards, so the opportunity to snowball rewards is probably going to be there. So maybe prices go higher before the season starts because people are like, oh my gosh, there's going to be lots of rewards. Let's start snowballing rewards. I gotta buy the thing, and then prices are going to go up. I don't know. This will be, and I got to read the announcement too. So I think that as soon as we get done, we're both going to read it.
No, I think that's kind of an interesting way to look at it. Falls in that to make money, you have to spend money or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Although, it's kind of an interesting idea of, because if you're just grinding D4 threshold, I think you're fine to not overpay for these guys. But we kind of have mentioned that we think there are going to be some really good teams in Champion America. And so those really good teams include really expensive players. And if you want to compete with those guys, you're going to have to end up with some of them, which is kind of a bummer, I guess, for some who are trying to not do it that way.
Or you find good like team composition.
Yeah.
Where you may not need the top guys, but you have like you did with your River team, where you have 5 players from the same team, and you're just hoping to hit Yahtzee that one week.
Yeah.
So I think you can avoid those by paying the top dollar by doing either defensive plus goalkeeper stacks, where you have 2 defenders and a goalkeeper from the same team, or you do like a whole team and just say, okay, if River wins 5-0, I am going to be in the top 20.
Right. Yeah. I think that makes a ton of sense. The next one's from Twitter user 313 Dennis. As many schedule revelations as possible, please. Playoff format, players leaving for Euros. Do you think they have an all-star game? We're assuming that's not included in a game week somehow, because that would be quite a... I can't even use the term I was going to use.
Yeah, it would be hilarious, is what I'll say. For those that don't know what the MLS All-Star games look like, this year it's going to be, I think, the MLS All-Stars against the Liga MX All-Stars. But in the past, it's been like the MLS All-Stars against like Chelsea, or MLS All-Stars against a European team that brings, I think, most of their squad, but usually the stars either don't play or they play like 20 minutes or something.
I went to the All-Star game a few years ago in Atlanta. I won it from playing MLS Fantasy, and that was the MLS All-Stars against Juventus. Juventus signed some striker from Real Madrid that year. He did not make the trip to Atlanta. I believe Miralem Pjanic was the most famous player on the team. Although, if I think back, I think Kulusevski was there, and he was probably like 17, so I didn't even know who he was. Right. But one of those cool things. But yes, no, I can't imagine the MLS All-Star game is included.
What about the skills competition? You think they'll include that?
Right. Where Jimmy Maurer wins all the goalkeeper ones.
It's like how far you can kick the ball, and like they're kicking the soccer ball through a hula hoop or something. It's
just a game where I hope my guys don't get hurt. It's as simple as that. Like, please don't get hurt.
Yeah.
But the summer stuff that we have to look out for. So we don't. There are some guys that are going to play for their national team. There are others that kind of are fringe and you just don't know. The U.S. didn't qualify for the Olympics, so everybody who had David Ochoa cards was thrilled, bummed and then thrilled. But the key dates to look out for, so the European Championships, which there are definitely some guys who play Euros, is June 11th to July 11th. Copa America plays basically the exact same time. It's June 11th to June 10th. We have the Gold Cup this year, July 2nd, so that's basically towards the end of Copa America, to August 1st. The Olympics are July 23rd to August 9th. Now, keep in mind, the dates of these are the dates of the actual competition, so they'll probably leave a few days early because they have to train. And if they're on terrible teams, then hopefully they come home early. And then we have World Cup qualifiers in September, October, November, but that's so far ahead that there's no reason to plan for that.
Yeah, these have always been notoriously difficult to plan for
Yeah.
because you don't know who's going to get the call up, or like there's situations where a guy might get hurt, so they don't get the call up, but then they heal, so they end up playing the MLS game. So
Right.
like, I don't even make an attempt, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think the problem with planning so far ahead is just like you said. I think the injury one is the key one, that where like if somebody is injured and is going to miss the first 3 games of the Gold Cup, like they're not going to call them, but then
Right.
you have them for half the Gold Cup, because once
But then they might call somebody else up that you do have, and then that guy misses. Like there's, chain reactions that can occur and
right.
totally screw up your plans.
Yeah. It is, I think we discussed this last week. It is one of the bummers though, that like you want the better players, but the better players are the ones who are going to get called from to their national team. So
Yeah. The worst, honestly, was last year during the playoffs when, like, key players from teams, like, I think there was a week where LAFC had to play without Rossi and Brian Rodriguez
Yeah.
and maybe somebody else. Maybe, I don't know about Vela.
But they didn't have Vela anyway. Vela was
Right, yeah. So
injured.
they were like that's so bad. Like,
Yeah.
this is
That's
a
a real
playoff
bummer.
game. This is important. And, yeah.
The last one is actually, we kind of already discussed it, from Prav Chichani, just discussing strategies with respect to D3 versus D4. Do you think it's like, I just throw my extra into D3? Like, I think the better question is, do you think you can compete with 1 super rare as opposed to 2?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could probably win with 1 super rare. Not to say that it's like that big of a difference, the percentage or whatever, but I think that if you have, I mean, honestly, you could win with 5 really good rares.
Mm-hmm.
The question would then be, why isn't that 5 really good rare team in D4?
Right.
So I think typically the 5 rare teams you see in D3 are the 5 rares that weren't good enough in that person's gallery to play in D4. So it's like their next tier of guys.
Right.
So that's why I typically 5 rares is not good enough to win. I mean, is the 20% boosts really enough to like make it impossible? No, but it's just like people aren't going to prioritize that with 5 rares. They're going to prioritize D4 with 5 rares. So I think that if you had 5 really good players, one of them was a super rare, sure, you can win D3. The same goes for, I mean, if you really had 5 great rares and you just were like, oh, I'm not playing it in D4, I'm going to play it in D3. I think that's crazy, but I think that you honestly, you could win, but I think that's crazy.
Yeah. I think the more important thing is don't kill both teams by like playing some of your good players in D3 and some in D4. Like that's the easiest way to just get a 0 for the whole week.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice.
Yeah. Like if you're going to spend up for the 5 excellent rare cards that you think can compete in D3 and then you go and split them.
Yeah. The other hard part too is like there used to be a bigger, like, so it used to not be percentage boost on the super rares and uniques. It used to be like a multiplier, and that multiplier used to be like a lot bigger. So like a super rare was a lot more powerful than a rare, which was good because like the crummier super rare players were still better than like a really good rare.
Yeah.
So I mean, right now, kind of the utility on your like, I don't know, tier 3 super rare type players that are just like, they maybe average like 40 or 50 points, like, or maybe like 30 to 40 points or 35 to 50 points. I don't know. The lower average super rare guys are just like I don't know, like you can put them in D3, but like,
Yeah.
You're better off with a really good rare player 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. I think people overlook that too, that they're just like, oh, I need some super rare so I can get into D3.
Right.
It's like, well, if you just have a middling, like you might be better off spending up. Like if you're going to spend X amount for a middling super rare, just get a better rare card and play that.
Right. And then you have kind of like that floating utility where like, okay, maybe I don't want to play D3 this week. I'll take him and I'll put him into another D4, like all-star D4 or something and captain him. And so I think that Like that's why you see the prices of rare. Like that's why a super rare is not 10x more expensive than a rare, because the rares are just they have more utility. So I think that the team should work on fixing that. I think it's a problem. Like I think that that's something that should be addressed and fixed. Like, and it could be little tweaks where, the super rares get a little bit more of a boost, and then the uniques get a little bit more of a boost over the super rares. But I just think that it doesn't make a lot of sense right now. Like there's a big chunk of cards right now in the super rare realm that are just like, they're not even worth owning, really.
Right. The rare versions can at least help you get a threshold in D4
for sure.
Global. But yeah, I agree. I think, that middling super rare category is like, those are the cards when I sort super rares that I could possibly buy, and I do the cost, close the cost bars, and I'm just like, I don't want any of these guys. I would never dream of buying their rare cards.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good for this week. Thank you everybody for watching and listening. If you are watching on YouTube, if you just please hit the like button below. You can also subscribe for all the RotoWire videos. We're going to be back every week, so feel free to check that out. If you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, if you could please rate and review it wherever you listen. You can find Andy on Twitter at ABBlack. Did I do it again? ABlack86. There's something about that AB that throws me off. ABlack86. I am at RotoWire Andrew. Also, you can find us at Black and Lairdino on Sorare, respectively. So, if you guys have any other topics that you'd like us to cover, feel free to hit us up in those channels as well. So, Andy, thank you for that. Good luck on this first Champion America week.
Sounds good. You too.
Try RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.